guys so much for letting me be here today. I'm going to start with a confession that I hope doesn't get me kicked off the stage for being a fraud, but I want to share with how I got to be standing here today because it epitomizes my topic today. Last November, I became enamored with the idea of being a public speaker. Travel to exotic locations, be paid tons of money to talk about what you're passionate about, and all expenses covered. Sign me up. That sounded amazing. As you will see, I am in no way a professional speaker, but what I am is a drinker of the Why Not Kool-Aid. So I made a speaking engagements web page and threw it up on my website and thought, what's the worst that could happen? No one contacts me and I will have lost the 20 minutes it took me to create that web page. 2 days later, via the page I had just created, Dave Mason contacted me and said, do you want to present at Cusp? So while the exotic travel component of today was me taking the brown line from Roscoe Village, and while I am not being paid wads of money to be here, I get to speak in front of a couple hundred remarkable people at the Museum of Contemporary Art. Not too shabby. So I identified something that I wanted, and I immediately went after it and ignored all the what ifs and the doubts that came into my head, and things worked out beautifully. And this is called the life of yes. So my life is not perfect by any means. My 401k is pathetic. I have lower back pain. I have stretch marks. Stretch marks. You can use that in your routine if you want. That seems to get a lot of jokes. Okay, lower back pain, stretch marks. I've lost a lot of friendships that I wish I still had because of immaturity on my part. I get irrationally mad when people misuse the reply all function in email. So I'm not perfect. My life is not perfect. That said, overall, I am ridiculously happy, and I attribute much of my joy to a way of being that I've adopted over the years, and I've come to call it the life of yes. Simply put, a life of yes is an existence of being whole, where you feel whole, and I would love to share with you steps to designing a life of yes, in the hopes that if you are not already ridiculously happy like I am, or if you feel that something's missing from your life, that you can sprinkle a few of these steps into your life and transform into a yeser. Number 1, identify your life of yes ingredients. What makes you jump out of bed in the morning? What makes you talk excitedly with your hands? What makes you want to stay in on a Friday night to work on? These are the qualities that I've identified for myself over the years are really important for me to have in my life. When I have these things, I experience cura personalis, which means care of the whole person. I am whole when I have these traits in my life. Number 2, figure out who you are. What's your elevator pitch about yourself? Someone actually asked me in an elevator about myself, and as I was holding the door open button for like 3 minutes after we had reached the floor that we wanted to get off at, I realized I need to work on my elevator pitch. But that made me realize that one of the things I like about my life is that I have variety. I am called all of these different titles, and I like that I can't just say I'm a doctor, a barista, a receptionist, or that I'm only interested in one thing. And this insight became really helpful for me when I got fired from my last 9-to-5 job. And I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I did not want boss to be in my vocabulary ever again. And I knew that I wanted to do more of what I love more often. So I sat down on my couch when I got let go, and I made a list of all the things, no matter how ridiculous they sounded, that I wished I could get paid to do. And every bullet point on that list that I made is a part of what I do for a living today, as I'm about to celebrate 8 years of the most blissful self-employment in about 2 weeks. So number 3, thank you, self-employment, woo! Number 3, put out in the universe exactly what it is that you covet. If you shoot for the stars and you fall just below that, that's still pretty damn good, right? And the world has a way of conspiring to make things happen when you tell it what you want. My way of telling the world what I want is by lists. You may do it via blogging, vision boarding, journaling, posting on Facebook. The method that you choose isn't important, but it's the act and the mindset. Now, you're not going to be able to read all of these. If you're desperate to read my lists, you can check them out on my blog. But I wanted to share a couple of other examples of how aiming for Utopia has worked in my life. The last time I had to move, I created a home criteria list. Ridiculously specific and narrow desires, I know that. A 1 square mile radius in which I was willing to live, good luck, right? Sometime in my single life, I created a boyfriend criteria list. A creative type with health insurance named Aiden, whose bed isn't in the corner of the room. Again, good luck, right? All I have to say is that I live in a place and I have a boyfriend, which and who both exceed what I ever envisioned. The fourth step in designing a life of yes directly correlates to these Utopia lists. I realized that I was being unreasonable. But I've discovered that one of the roles that I play in my own life of yes is that of an unreasonable man. When what I want doesn't exist, I create it. Since graduating college, I've been dissatisfied with the options for forming relationships, clients, friends, dates. For clients, I don't want to attend another happy hour filled with suits and ties, throwing their business cards at me and looking over my shoulder to see who better they can talk to. For friends, I didn't want to take another class where after the class ended, the relationships and the experience ended. For dates, I didn't want to scroll through profiles, and I did not want to gyrate on the dance floor of John Barleycorn. So I made the world adapt to my life of yes, where discomfort and pressure and time and money wasters don't exist. There was a New York Times article that came out a few months ago called "Why Is It Hard to Make Friends Over 30?" that went viral, as the kids say today, resonating with the masses. And it talks about 3 conditions noted by sociologists as crucial to making authentic relationships: proximity, repeated unplanned interactions, and a setting that encourages people to let their guard down and confide in each other. And the author cites a New Yorker who was so lonely that he would walk his cat in Central Park searching for conversation. And it should never have to come to that. So in hopes of providing options other than cat walking, I host events called Mac and Cheese Minglers, where a group of 20 to 30 people come over on a weekend night to expand their networks, professional, social, romantic, whatever network they're looking to expand. The one caveat is that everybody comes solo. This levels the playing field. You don't have to be worried about being the new kid. Everybody's the new kid. No one knows anyone. And you can be whomever you want to be, not the person that your friends have pigeonholed you to be. And over 1,000 people have come through my doors for a mingler. It seems like low-key sitting on couches is a connect with others atmosphere that people can get behind. Number 5 in designing a life of yes: suck. Amazing, unexpected goodness occurs when you not only suck at something, but when you embrace your suckage. An example, another way that I live a life of yes is Fear Experiment. Fear Experiment actually started as Dance Experiment, and Dance Experiment started as number 3 on my life to-do list, which was I wanted to dance a hip-hop routine on stage in front of a paying audience. But I am a horrible dancer, so I knew nobody would pay to see me dance badly by myself. But I thought they might pay to see a group of people dance badly together. And I love connecting people. I sent out an email to about 50 select people whom I thought would have the adventurous spirit to say yes to my crazy idea. The idea being I would get a group of bad dancers, hire an instructor, rent out a studio, and after months of rehearsals, we would perform on stage. I selected 16, all of whom I knew, but who didn't know each other, as a way to help friends make friends. And as a way to help ourselves experience personal growth, another criteria to participate besides being bad was that something about the journey needed to scare you, because we often surprise ourselves in positive ways when faced with challenges. So we rehearsed for 3 months. And I also incorporated kids from a low-income community whom I had in an after-school digital media program. And we taught them one of the dances that we were learning ourselves, and also taught them how to shoot and edit a music video of the dance that they were learning, that we were teaching them. Suddenly, we had routines, t-shirts, a logo, a playbill, a theater, and show night came. We bussed the kids and their families in from the West Side. They premiered their music videos, standing ovation. We danced in front of 350 people, standing ovation. We laughed and laughed and laughed. It was obvious that Dance Experiment was a hit. So I excitedly crossed number 3 off of my list and prepared to move on to my next life of yes idea. But then I started getting email after email from participants, audience members, friends of participants. It's like, Dance Experiment 2, there is no Dance Experiment 2. But when the masses demand something. So due to the high interest level, I actually had to create an application, and I had to turn people down because so many people applied. I selected a new group, same criteria, bad at dance, sign up solo, be scared on some level. I wasn't participating this time as a dancer, I'd already done it, but I was the coordinator. And I attended the first couple of the rehearsals to communicate logistical stuff. And I was so excited for the newbies because the nervous energy was palpable and the bonding was immediate. But I also got really sad for myself because I didn't have some fun new thing to look forward to. So I thought to myself, what else do I suck at that others may suck at that we could suck at together publicly? Improv! So I sent out another email, and I suddenly had 20 bad solo, scared improvisers and an improv teacher. And I smushed the two groups together, and that's how Fear Experiment was born. The dancers danced, the improvisers improvised. We brought the kids back, and this time the adults taught them two art forms, dance and improv. And the kids were told to practice extra hard because this time they'd be live performing in the show with us. And while the rehearsals were going on, I started searching for a theater. Now, number 6 in designing a life of yes. Yes and. The golden rule in improv is yes and. When whatever your scene partner gives you, you accept and you say yes and. If he pats you on the head and says, you're a cute little French poodle, you get down on your knees and you start wagging your French tail. And so it goes in the life of yes. I found out that the Park West was available, and my initial thought was the Park West, no, the Park West is for celebrities, people like these who have actually performed on that stage. 700 seats, nuh-uh, we can't sell 700 seats, that's ridiculous, we can't fill those. And it's $1 gazillion to rent, no exaggeration. But yes and, right? The universe has given us this gift of the Park West being available on the date that we want it. Instead of worrying about the what ifs, let's just accept the gift. So I signed a very scary contract that had a very high bar minimum we had to reach or else pay ourselves, not to mention the large deposit that I had to fork over, not to mention that any balance for renting the Park West that we didn't cover with ticket sales would come out of our pockets. Not only did we sell tickets, we sold out a month before the show. This is 2 hours before showtime. The owner of the Park West actually drove by the theater and asked the woman I had been coordinating with, what big name act is in town tonight that I don't know about? And she just looked and said, bad dancers and bad improvisers. So 41 everyday Joes and Janes, who were all strangers just months before, became rock stars in front of 700 fans who cheered and clapped for 3 hours and created the most supportive, positive atmosphere that I have ever witnessed in my life. And so, of course, there was a Fear Experiment 2 last April, and we sold out again 750 tickets. And I now do Fear Experiment 2 times a year and added 2 new art forms, a cappella singing and stepping, like they do in the Greek system, you know, like that thing, right? And they, or should I say we, because I'm one of the bad steppers, we just started Fear Experiment 3 last week. Our show's in December, and I'm about to start accepting applications for Fear Experiment 4, which will start in January. So it's pretty amazing what sucking and yes-anding can get you in life. And while learning the art forms was fun, and while the show is a trip, the best part of Fear Experiment, hands down, is the transformations that occur in the participants and the relationships that form. And you know that you've got something good when you get recognized on a Jumbotron, which we've been 3 times. Of course, the second time it said, Northwestern University welcomes Fear Equipment, but it's all right. It's the thought that counts. Number 7 in designing a life of yes, steal and tweak. So people have done many remarkable things in the world already. There's no need to start from scratch. If there's something that catches your fancy and almost feeds your soul, except for that one hang-up, take the idea and modify it to your liking. You may be familiar with the format of Pacha or Ignite, where a few people get a short time frame, usually 5 to 6 minutes, to talk about whatever they want, with the caveat being that their slides automatically advance every 20 seconds. So I love that idea. Learn a little about a variety of topics in their rapid-fire evening. But both from a presenter standpoint and from an audience member standpoint, I wasn't enamored with the required slide component. Some people aren't techies, and often tech angst will overtake presentations. And who wants to sit and watch 10 PowerPoint presentations in a row? So I stole the idea and I tweaked it. In Potluck, a smorgasbord of ideas, about 10 people do whatever they want. The only rule is 6 minutes. From stand-up comedy to a kimchi cooking lesson to an essay reading, the dishes present their random topics in a variety of manners. And Potluck is now one of my most popular mac and cheese offerings, with people begging to be dishes and also begging to get tickets to the sold-out events. Living a life of yes is not always easy. Sometimes I'm scared shitless, like right now, but I act confident. I'm not in middle school anymore, and what's the worst that could happen are common mantras of mine. Middle schoolers are the worst people on earth, and if you survive them, you can survive anyone. So act fearless. It often yields wondrous consequences. A few years ago, I wanted to go to something, but I couldn't find anybody to go with me, so I ended up not going, and I was so pissed at myself. I decided from that point on that I would live a solo life, where I would make a conscious choice to do something by myself once a week. So I went to concerts, restaurants, parties, literary readings, gallery walks, and sometimes nothing extraordinary would happen, but more often than not, I A, experienced life in a different way, which was really exhilarating, and B, had something positive result. I went solo to an underground supper club. It was a pig roast at an abandoned convent in Pilsen. And of course, when I first walked in and I saw 70 people in the courtyard, all in their tight groups, my heart raced and I felt like I was back in that 5th grade cafeteria, looking to see where I could sit. But by the conclusion of the evening, I had met the founder of the event, who ended up suggesting we collaborate. And that was the start of mac and cheese underground supper clubs, of which I've now had multiple. To continue challenging myself, I decided I needed to present before an audience that wasn't my usual crowd, and chose bar camp. And most attendees at bar camp are tech nerds who are not interested in my warm and fuzzy, let's all be happy energy. So the 45 minutes that I talked, the bulk of the guys were on their laptops, and I'm pretty sure they were not taking notes or quoting me. They were more likely coding or hacking or buying motherboards on eBay. I don't know what nerds do. But when I got to my boyfriend criteria list, a guy actually looked up from his laptop and made eye contact with me, and he said, "So would you want him to smell like campfire all the time or just some of the time?" Turns out he was a chemical engineer. A few months later, he shows up at one of my Minglers with a vial of campfire. He had taken my unreasonable boyfriend criteria. He actually won a few grants to produce the scent, and now is selling it online. So I had a custom-made cologne, and a guy started a business, all because I acted fearless and unreasonable. Number 9, living a life of yes. There is never going to be the right time, so Nike the bejesus out of life and just do it, whatever it is for you. That cute barista you've been eyeing, stop waiting to lose just 5 more pounds. Ask her out. That yoga class you've been wanting to take, stop having to buy the right mat, the right strap, just take the class. Launch your business. Stop tweaking your website, your business cards, your logo. You don't have to have an MBA, a huge bank account, a specialized skill, a rockin' body. I'm proof of all of that. If I'd waited to launch mac and cheese until I had a good logo, I would still be waiting. Now, ever since my undergrad days at BC, at Boston College, where we had retreats for everything because Jesuits love to sit in circles around candles, reflecting and hugging and having a good cry, I've wanted to experience that again. I love that community, but I have been unable to find that retreat setting in the adult world. So I Nike'd it. I rented 6 cabins in Michigan, a 15-passenger van, spread the word that I was having a retreat, and crossed my fingers that people would apply and I wouldn't be out thousands of dollars. So applications for the Life of Yes Fall 2012 retreat just went live last week. And the Life of Yes way of thinking and the quality of the applications that I've gotten thus far tells me that it's going to be awesome. So stay tuned. Number 10, my boyfriend says that when I hear the words like entrepreneur, passion, creative, that I close my eyes, nod my head, and rock back and forth. And he calls it my black woman in church mode. I can't help it. When others are blissfully happy, they infect me with inspiration and energy. And you'll find that infecting others with the yes and disease is one of the most gratifying experiences that you can have. And bonus, not only does your complete joy infect others, it contaminates you, all of you. No segment of your life is safe. Getting back to that cura personalis, care of the whole person. There I was, facilitating connections for others at one of my Minglers, yesing in my professional life. A guy hung around at the end of the evening, and as I was cleaning up, he mentioned how he had created a spreadsheet ranking all of the barbecue restaurants in Chicago. Now, if there's two things I love, it's barbecue and spreadsheets. Good food and efficiency. I was intrigued. Just recently, 2.5 years later, this drawing arrived in the mail, which was an engagement present for that barbecue spreadsheet guy and I. I can now say that I'm not only the mac and cheese president, but I'm also a client, because we got engaged a few months ago. This guy that I met at my own Mingler. Thank you. So a life of yes is one where everybody wins, where those you infect write tweets with lots of exclamation points, where those you infect jump out of photographs with happiness, where you get to say, I helped someone feel good today. I'm ridiculously happy. I've discovered what makes me whole. Wondering what makes you whole. What does your life of yes look like? And nothing would please me more than to hear your ingredients, than you not having to take your cat out for a walk to find a conversation, than you designing your own life of yes. And if you do, please share. My Twitter handle is at the bottom. Remember, it can be as simple as throwing a page up on your website claiming that you're a professional speaker. Who knows what will happen? Lastly, the last step, number 11, ask. If you need something, ask, because you just never know. And how can someone help you if they don't know what they need help with? So in that vein, I'm going to leave you with 4 asks that I have. I'm looking for a Chicago or North Shore mansion owner who wants me to get married in their backyard. I would like a publisher to give me an advance so that I can write a book. I'm looking for corporate sponsors of mac and cheese offerings like Fear Experiment and the Retreats so that I can offer scholarships to those short on cash but long on awesomeness. And lastly, I would like to be in a Gap commercial. So, I will not, unfortunately, be at the closing party tomorrow night because I actually have stepping class for Fear Experiment. So please come and find me if you have your own yes story that you would like to share, or if you can get me on TV dancing in khakis and a white crew neck t-shirt. Thank you so much.